Hello boys and girls, this is this week's Top 5. Let's start with the Madrid derby. Because everybody sees the result and what happened in the second half, of course you have to look at what changed where it was a poor first half from Real Madrid, and the praise has arrived for Zinedine Zidane, who have gone from being somebody that really doesn't understand football, that's how he was being described at the beginning, including when he was winning titles, to like he's a bit of a genius. And not one thing or the other, I would say. Quite clearly he identified one thing that was his fault, really. Real Madrid started playing with a lot of midfielders and there was no depth, no penetration. Everything was too slow and Atletico Madrid played really well. It just played in the hands, Zidane and Real Madrid played in the hands of Atletico Madrid in that first half. It was Atletico Madrid that had the chances, it was Atletico Madrid that had in Morata the best player of the park, and generally they were doing very well considering that actually they had 7 players missing. I'd say 5 of them probably will start. And also it was a bad week because they tried to get a striker and couldn't get a striker. Instead they got Carrasco, who was at Atletico Madrid before, scored 23 goals, I think, and had 120 odd games. Went to China for a couple of years and he's back now and he made his debut. That was the positives of Atletico Madrid, because in the second half Zinedine changed things and brought in Lucas Vázquez and Vinicius for Toni Kroos and Isco. And when you go was a team that played in a different way. Different formation, different way. There was more attack than the wings, the fullbacks got more involved, and that's how the goal, one of the goals came just on the left-hand side. The pass from Vinicius, who was very clever in the way he actually was looking for the pass. This is a guy that is accused in the past of being rushed in his decision-making. Waited and waited and waited until he started seeing the run of Mendy and then just passed the ball for him to cross for Benzema to score. And with that, Real Madrid just won the game. Now, quite clearly, Zidane didn't get it right at the beginning, but improved in the second half, and Real Madrid continues what it is, a strange season in a way, because they're top of the table, not because of the goals they're scoring, which they used to be their trademark, but the fact that actually have got the best defense that Real Madrid has ever had in La Liga. They hardly concede goals. So you are talking about Real Madrid that with that in mind can compete for things, but when they get to the big games, they need more goals. At least Benzema is scoring again, hadn't done it since December, but perhaps it's not enough for when it gets to, say, a quarterfinal, semi-finals of the Champions League. We will have to see, because that's approaching. But meanwhile, they are a happy bunch. And then you look down in the table for my second point and you find Getafe. How the hell are they doing what they're doing? They actually have got 7 more points than they did last season and 10 more points than 2 years ago. So you are looking at a team that is improving. And that's how, just using the same kind of players, more or less. Up front, same forwards than last season. Mata, Angel, Jorge Molina, in the 30s, all of them. Players that have spent most of their career in the second division, and that's one of the keys of Getafe, the fact that they actually have got a lot of people trying to prove a point. A manager that having given the opportunity to, after many years of coaching, to actually be in the first division with Alaves, because he promoted Alaves. Alaves said, thank you very much, bye. It doesn't look, in the eyes of Alaves, didn't look at the time, perhaps doesn't look even now, as a top manager. He talks the talk of a humble team, a humble talk of a manager that says it's all about sacrifices and effort. And you look at Getafe and it's like, do you really want that style? This is when bigger clubs look at him. And so far they've decided, no, we don't want that just yet. But he's maximizing the potential of a team that hasn't got really superstars. In fact, Cabrera just left, the centre-back of Getafe has gone to Espanyol, because Espanyol paid him double. But interestingly enough, Espanyol went to Angel, the striker, who is not the regular, is the third choice striker, and said, we double you the wages, you want to come to Espanyol? No, he said. He just feels that something special is being built at Getafe. It could be even getting to the Champions League. Pepe Bordalás, the manager, had the opportunity to leave, or at least approaches to leave at the end of last season, having taken to Getafe to the last week of the season with the possibility of being top four, ended up being fifth. But nobody gave that extra step of saying, okay, this is the contract, and let's give you teams that were in the Champions League already. Because of that, because perhaps he doesn't sound, he doesn't look, even his methodology doesn't seem like a Champions League club methodology. But as I said, in these days and age in which a lot of clubs don't have a lot of money, Getafe, 56 million euros budget, that's 12 in the list of budgets in the first division in Spain. He's a guy that maximizes what he's got. Very admirable what Getafe are doing, and I'm convinced that they will continue being at this level until the end of the season. In point 3 and 4, we've got two things from Barcelona. First, from the game. Leo Messi assisted the 2 goals for Ansu Fati. Ansu Fati, the 17-year-old, so 17 years and 91 days old. He actually became the youngest player to ever score 2 goals in the same game, but it could have been a hat-trick, actually. He did an overhead kick that, if instead of hitting his shin pad, he hit his feet, it would have gone in. But the fact is, will he play when Dembélé, who is they call the new addition to the side, the new signing? That's what an official line that has gone through Barcelona, through the club, even said by Quique Setién and the representatives of Barcelona directors. They're all saying, Dembélé, this is the one that's going to take us to the next level this season. That's because they couldn't get a striker. That's the next point. But with Dembélé returning, let's see what happens with Ansu Fati, because I think Ansu Fati fits Barcelona. This is not Barcelona giving the youngster a chance. This is a team, a player that certainly belongs to this level. He scored 4 goals already this season. Already he's gone up and down in the way he's impressing the side at the beginning, big impact, and then he disappeared, and then he's come back and made a difference. And he's done so by playing exactly as Messi needs and Barcelona needs, running in behind. The defensive work that he put in was bigger than he had done in previous games, so he's learning that side as well. And meanwhile, Griezmann is being used as a 9, so running in behind as well and just fixing the centre-back, sometimes dropping deep. But that was the good news of the first half. In the second half, Barcelona conceded 7 chances, and that was partly down because the midfielders just don't know what to do. They were asked at the beginning to pass. Now to actually get close to the centre forwards, and when that happens, big gaps in the middle appear, which Busquets cannot deal with. So both sides to the story, to the game of Barcelona. It was a victory, yes, but one in which they did not impress in the second half. And that's the Barcelona at the moment. You don't know what kind of team is going to appear. And again, getting closer to the Champions League, I don't see them favourites for anything really, despite the fact that in Messi they still got the best goal scorer and the best assistant in La Liga. Barcelona did try hard, didn't they, to get a striker. They wanted one, they had decided that that's the thing to do, and these are the 3 names that they tried to go for. Rodrigo of Valencia, but they wanted a loan deal, and Valencia wanted money now, 50 million. Barcelona said, we don't want an obligation to buy him, but we're interested, and perhaps pay the 50 million in the summer. Generally, it's just there was a big gap between what Valencia wanted and what Barcelona wanted. Rodrigo thought he was going to Barcelona, like in the summer when actually he traveled to Madrid. He did travel to Barcelona as well. Last summer tried to travel to Madrid because Atletico Madrid were going to get him if they had sold Correa to AC Milan. That didn't happen. The deal collapsed. And again, he traveled to Barcelona with the excuse of seeing a doctor for his knee, and it was just to prepare for the medical. And it didn't happen, so I had to go back to Valencia. Barcelona had plans to get either Timo Werner, again, on a loan deal that was not accepted, logically, and Aubameyang. That was a possibility that had to do as well with a loan with the option to buy in the summer, which nobody at Arsenal considered a reputable or a decisive offer. In fact, they did not want to get rid of Aubameyang, so that possibility finished. Still wanted a striker. They tried other things. They contacted a lot of representatives, but did not negotiate with anybody. The problem was that Bakambu's representatives thought that the best decision for their player was for him to travel, what he was, Hong Kong airport, to Barcelona. Barcelona made the call, said, would he be interested? Of course, his representative said, and it was his representatives, no Barcelona, as has been reported, that put the player in the direction to Barcelona, on a plane to go to Barcelona that he had to come off from, because Barcelona decided not to continue those conversations. The advice from the representatives was, go to Barcelona, there's not much time, you can do the medical there, and those things happen. It's a risk that representatives and players take. In this case, being in Hong Kong, it made sense to do so, but he had to come off of the plane and just stay with his Chinese team because he did not go to Barcelona. Bakambu, though, put a tweet to say, oh, I almost got to play with you, Antoine Griezmann. I think players sometimes are their worst enemies. In case you haven't heard the story, Mbappé and Tuchel, when Mbappé was being replaced, the game was 5-0 at the time, minute 68 or so. There was a conversation, a heated conversation between the manager and the player of PSG, which continued with a meeting with Leonardo, the director of football. So the three of them sat on a table, and Le Parisien published, a few hours after that meeting, I'll let you guess where the leak comes from, published basically that Mbappé told Tuchel, this is not how you treat a star. You've been treating me the same as everybody else. I am different. I am the one winning the games. You should not do this to me. And more, Le Parisien actually said that Mbappé doesn't want to continue if Tuchel continues in the team. This is not, I've been told, a strategy to go to Madrid. The strategy to go to Madrid is in place. When he finishes his contract in a year and a half, the plan is then for Real Madrid to get everything in place for him to go to the Santiago Bernabeu. Not yet. Perhaps it won't be down to the end of his contract, but certainly Real Madrid will try to get him in every window, almost summer window. So they'll try it again. PSG will probably say no, and then eventually they think he's going to be a Real Madrid player. No, this tension, I'm saying, is to do with the fact that Tuchel, who wants the team to play as a team, and they actually are playing strongly. I see them as one of the favourites for the Champions League. He is doing with Mbappé what actually you should do with somebody that plays every single minute, who depends so much on his physicality, who has come back from injury maybe a month and a half ago, and to give him rest. Mbappé doesn't like that. And it seems to be something that PSG will have to sort out. Out of the two, I reckon, as Mbappé should be there next season, perhaps they will need to look for another manager. And it will be a shame, because I think Tuchel is doing a great job at PSG. Anyway, that's it. And there'll be more next week. Remember, if you look at the YouTube channel, there's a lot of interviews and things that are happening. Plus, check my podcast. That's the Pure Football Podcast, which soon will prepare a second series of this. Give it a few days. We're getting there. And that's it. Hasta luego.